All right, I am thrilled today to welcome Tia to the Sasiga podcast. So please tell us who you are and what you do, Tia.
Hello, Sasiga family. My name is Tia Haygood. I'm a photographer of Top Tia Photography. I've been shooting with Top Tia for going on 5 years now. And fun fact, Helen was my very, very first client. And she was the genius that came up with Top Tia. If you're Japanese and English and a bilingual speaker, it's a bit of a dejare, my name being Tia and adding top to the Tia, it's kind of like a tier. And I thought that was the most brilliant idea ever because Helen, you remember my name. My name was, or my photography name. It was literally TK Haygood Photography. Right. It's very boring. And Helen, you just breathed all this life and creativity into just that one suggestion, so it stuck.
Yay! Brilliant! I can't believe it's been like 5 years. That's absolutely amazing. So let me just shower you with praise right from the beginning. I've worked with Tia multiple times now for photography, and it's just such a pleasure. And it's also been really interesting seeing your growth as you've gone through this journey. But maybe we can get into that a little bit more in a moment.
Well, likewise.
Yeah.
There's been a Sasiga transformation as well.
Right, because we've kind of both seen it in each other because things change over the years, and that is good.
Absolutely.
So let's start off with the word of the year. So I'm really curious, what is your word of the year, Tia?
Oh my goodness, I've been bouncing around between these two words. One of them is relax, and the other one is value. And they're a bit cliche, and for good reason. I don't know if you've noticed, like after the first 2 minutes of this podcast, I am such a ball of energy. I am 110% all the time. I never stop. I never shut up. And sometimes I do realize that, not just the person who I'm talking to might need a filter, a Tia filter, but I myself need a Tia filter. And just to kind of take things slow, calm it down, bring it down to where I can better communicate, better get my ideas conveyed to the person I'm speaking with. That person might be not a native English speaker, or I could be going 110% in Japanese and the grammar and words are all wrong and they just need me to slow down so I can carefully think about the grammar that I'm speaking. And it's something that I think goes a little bit into self-care is not having to be go, but just having your peaks and then having your valleys in an effective manner. So that's the first one. The second one, and I think this really goes to not just myself, but to definitely a lot of people, is really valuing yourself and knowing and understanding the value that you bring. We are in such a comparison culture. We're looking at the Insta babes on Instagram. We're looking at the people who have all these accolades on LinkedIn and these great lives on Facebook. And sometimes I feel that we're really guilty of devaluing ourselves because we're not doing what others are doing. And to just be able to take a beat and think about the small wins, the big wins, that we do in our careers, that we do in our personal lives, for sure, and celebrate those and truly value those. Because if you don't value yourself, how are you really going to be seen of value in other people? So I really do think that that's a really, really key lesson and key word that people should carry with them throughout the year this year.
Absolutely. So I want to ask you, I want to go dive in a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
In terms of sort of relaxing and valuing yourself, as well as, obviously having the mindset of that is really important. But what are some specific things that you do to help you to relax a little bit? And specifically, what do you do to value yourself?
So for relaxing, one of the things I have to do is I just go for a walk. I can be, I can have a podcast on, I can have just some nice calming music, but the goal of that walk is to, wake myself up, of course, but to just really take the day in stride. Some of us are really guilty of waking up, grabbing the coffee, brushing our teeth, rocking out of the door to the next thing. Okay, I got to go to the next thing. Okay, I'm here. Let me do the next thing. And I found myself for a time, I would wake up and go straight to work. Like not even wash my face and you know, just when I say go straight to work, I don't mean leaving the house. I mean being here and work from home. But you know, it would be that jump from bed to computer. And I found myself doing that for many months and not really enjoying the work that I was doing and not really, how can I say this? Not really, I guess, in terms of valuing, you know, my personal time, because that's something that I do want to remind myself of, is that I'm not living for the sake of working. I'm living for the sake of enriching my life and giving back to my community. So just having that transition, or just having something in between me waking up and starting my day and actually getting to work, is one way I can just kind of take that nice pace. I know for some people it's really easy because they might have breakfast, or they might go to the gym, or they might do something like they have morning routine. Because I know, Helen, your morning routine, you're really good with routines. So that just helps me kind of set the day in motion. And then continuing that relaxation, I try really hard not to distract myself, which is something that really forces my brain to overact or overreact. If I'm multitasking, forget it. I'm just a mess with tasks. So if I do want to stimulate myself while I'm working or editing, I'll have, again, nice music. I try not to listen to podcasts because, again, separating my mind two different directions is definitely, I read, is actually not very good for cognitive functions.
Oh, it's terrible. Terrible. Yeah.
I learned this lesson very late. In college, I used to brag about how I could do multiple things at once. And I guess maybe it's the symptom of getting older, but I have to have maybe nice soothing music. Usually it's lo-fi or some jazz. Or something like weird quirk. I love 70s and 80s Japanese jazz. I don't understand, but it's really nice. So like the one that I'm listening to these days is Cassiopeia. And it's just a nice, you know, upbeat, but it's not too upbeat to where I'm being pulled. So I'm going down this bunny hole with relaxation, but just kind of building my day of how to just keep my brain somewhat stimulated, but still getting the work done.
Right. Yeah, because it can help. You said that you don't want to be distracted, and having something like some music or something going on in the background can actually help you to focus, as long as it's not something that's got like words in it or whatever, because that's going to distract you. And you know what you said about the multitasking thing, you know, people used to say this a lot, and it would, you know, on resumes and stuff, you always wanted to see people who were, you know, multitasker, and it was considered a positive thing. And then research has since shown that it is not a positive thing at all, because you cannot, as a human being, focus on two things at exactly the same time. And even if you think you are focusing on two things at the same time, you're not. Your attention is flipping back and forth between one and the other, and that's actually really tiring on the brain.
It really is.
Yeah.
And that really goes to self-care, because you're really, that fight of attention is really negatively affecting your motivation. It's negatively affecting your mental health. It's in the long run, not really something that you want to have a habit of doing, because it will hinder you in terms of getting tasks done, in terms of remembering things.
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
What I'm a big fan of, though, is the doing it. So I don't really call it multitasking, but doing two things at the same time when one of those things does not require thinking. So that's exactly what you're talking about. So when you're editing your photos, you need you need to concentrate, you need the thinking on that, then you don't need to be thinking about the music. That's just something in the background that's helping you to stay focused. Same with, when you talk about going for a walk, listening to a podcast. So you don't really need to focus on the walking and taking it one step after the other. You can be listening to what's being said.
Oh my goodness, I suffered through that the longest time because everyone around me was listening to podcasts and I was really late to the podcast bandwagon. And I would try really hard to edit and then listen to a podcast. And it's just like, wait, what? This is a good point. So
no, you split your brain's attention in that way.
So I find that podcasts are good for when I'm cleaning the home.
Yes.
When I'm going for a walk.
Yes.
But going towards the task direction, I did a big dive in Dave Asprey. He's the guy who created the Bulletproof Coffee.
Yes.
And he's got a lot of good podcasts about, he brings in experts of different fields. And they talk about certain things connected to your health. But he said one thing that always stuck with me, and this has stuck with me for 3 years now. And he said, he was talking about things that take less than 2 minutes. If you can do something that takes less than 2 minutes, go ahead and knock those out or kind of bunch them together in, just a little chunk of stuff. You don't even need to write it down. Just focus on it, do it, and then get to the big task at hand. And that's helped me organize my tasks tremendously. So,
yeah, that's a good one. This came up. We're kind of going off topic here. I want to come back, but this to me is worth sharing because it came up. Where did it come up? I think in the Sasaga Cafe the other day when we do like a weekly Oshiete Hearing. Like the members ask me questions and I do a live on Fridays in the group and answer the questions. And one of the questions was about the lady had. She found it difficult to have chunks of time where she could focus on getting things done. And so what I suggested to her was when she's creating her list of tasks, is to split them up into what are the ones that actually need a focused amount of time and what are those like quick tasks she's saying. And then when she finds that she doesn't have so much time, just go boom, 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 boom through the quick tasks. And then you can get those out of the way. And then when she can secure a little bit of a block of time to do the other ones. So it's really about, how you're looking at what's going on in your life and what you can fit in at which time.
That's so remarkable. And that I feel like I'm really happy because that's exactly what I do with my task structure. I do a lot of the admin tasks in the morning because that's when I seem to be most motivated to do admin tasks. But even within that morning of tasks, I have my communications time, and then after I finish a chunk of communications, that's when I do those small little niggling tasks that are just kind of floating around in my mind or on a sticky note somewhere. And then right about time when I'm finished with those, if I've got a big admin task that I need to work on before lunch, I'll do that. Then I'll have lunch and then I'll edit, because editing is usually the longest amount of time for a task.
That's great. Yeah. Really thinking about what you do when. It's not just what you do, but it's when you do those things. It's so important. So let's go back to the other question that I asked you.
Yes.
About how you value yourself. So
yes.
What specifically do you do there?
It's so interesting because I was definitely the poster child of the imposter syndrome. I was one of those people who felt guilt and shame of receiving money for a service that imposter syndrome, felt that I was not worthy of. And over time, the more I photograph people, the more people I photograph, the more that confidence really built inside of me. And then the less that imposter syndrome made itself present. It's a really funky, silly feeling to have, but people feel it. And now being where I am, it's so funny because I was a new entrepreneur came up and she was selling cookies. And I'm a cookie monster. I love cookies.
Oh yeah.
So I said, oh yeah, I'll buy some cookies. And they were fairly priced cookies. It was, they were like, and the price is, there's a point to the price. The price of 18 homemade cookies with extravagant flavors came up to, with shipping, 4,200 yen. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, yeah, cool, got it, I understand. And she took my order and she said, well, actually, would it be, since I'm new, can I just have you give me feedback on the cookies and you don't have to pay for the cookies? And I looked at the message and I was just like, man, I know exactly what she's feeling. Yeah. And she's feeling guilty about receiving this money for a service that she, maybe feels she's not at industry standards, or she's not at her idea of the standard of making cookies. And I told her, I said, look, I love cookies. I love supporting other female entrepreneurs or other entrepreneurs. I was there feeling really weird about receiving money for something that I valued it, but I felt, you just have this feeling of like, oh, am I worth it? Or am I, do I have the authority to be telling someone that my service is this much? Mm-hmm. And I said, look, I'm going to pay you and I'm going to give you feedback. Mm-hmm. And right off the bat, like immediately after I sent that, she said, oh my goodness, that's exactly what I'm feeling. I really just, I don't know what the census is of my cookies. So I feel uneasy about charging this particular amount about my cookies. Mm-hmm. And I really resonated with her guilt and shame. And I said, well, don't feel guilty, feel empowered and communicate how much you value your cookies, because I guarantee you the first person that says $42 for cookies, you're going to stand up nice and straight and tall and tell them, yeah, it's $42 for 18 cookies. So, and just reminiscing, over the 5 years of being, in Top Tia, one of the first thing I did was market research. I wanted to research the other photographers who were in Tokyo when I was starting in 2016. And there were some phenomenal photographers. There were photographers who were in the business for 20 years. There were commercial photographers who had high-end clients, from Mitsubishi to just the like Sony, to these different amazing multinational Japanese companies. And yeah, it's intimidating to look at, but it's also inspiring. Mm-hmm. It's also a vision for yourself of where you want to be and the kind of life that you want to have, or at least the kind of career you want to have. Mm-hmm. So while I was nervous to dip my toe in this industry, I was truly excited and I wanted to see where it would take me. And that curiosity and that drive really just added my motivation. And so that value, the more wins I had, the more people I photographed, the more I felt value in myself. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that you have to be validated by accolades or by other people, but just really stopping and looking at the photo or the service you've provided and saying, yeah, I really, really stand by that. And I really am proud of that. Mm-hmm. Even if you compare it to someone else and I don't want to say it's not as good, but if it's not at a standard that you feel is master level, mm-hmm. hey, it's better than what you did the day before. It's exactly. better than what you did the week before. Yes. And that's how I always built value in myself was, okay, it's not Annie Leibovitz right now, but hey, it's a lot better than what it was last year, or it's a lot better than what it was last week. Yeah. And a lot of that is also just investing in your skills.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I love this so much. So, I often say this, it's like not about comparing yourself with other people, compare yourself with you yesterday.
Yes.
And then what you say about the comparison is it's not comparison with other people, but it's looking to them for inspiration. And this is what's possible for you.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think as a photographer, or, I'll make this a blanket situation for creatives. I don't know what it's like for people in other industries, but sometimes we get wrapped up in the idea of a master level service provider. So I said Annie Leibovitz. Annie Leibovitz is one of the leading journalist photographers. She's also a magazine photographer who's been in the business since the 70s. And she is the Jedi Knight of photography. But I also have to remind myself is I'm not a magazine photographer. I'm not a commercial photographer. I'm a photographer who provides headshots, branding images, family portraits, and couples portraits. And I really want to be the best service provider of those 4 genres. And I think sometimes people mix up what genre or what kind of, how can you say this? What kind of specific niche they're in their industry. So, and I know this is probably the case with coaching because there are a lot of coaches, but the head coach or the best coach, might not be in the niche that, another person is entering the coaching field. It's the same for photography. It's the same for cooking and any creative industry that the person's in.
Yeah, I think this is so important. In fact, to me, it's broader than even creatives. And, a lot of our listeners are in the corporate world. And so in the corporate world too, you can be looking at other people and say, oh, she's so great at this, or, oh, he's so great at that. Well, for a start, how long have they been doing it is one thing. And then also, well, what are they maybe not so good at? Because we don't pay attention to those things. We're paying attention to, okay, well, what are they good at? And I really liked as well what you said about the investing in your skills, because that's it. Once you decide, this is what I enjoy doing, this is where I feel like I'm bringing value to the world, and then just invest in that. So investing in yourself and being the best that you can in that area, to me, that's so important. Absolutely.
And I'll tell you the thing that helped me cope with being in an industry of such juggernauts in photography is I was reading somewhere about the experience versus the results. You could be the best photographer in the world, but if that experience with that photographer is negative, even if you have a fantastic photo, that relationship isn't going to grow or manifest as if, maybe you're an average photographer or you're a good and decent photographer, and you just make that person feel like $1 million and they want to feel like $1 million again.
Yeah.
And that saying or that quote, I didn't phrase it the exact same way, but that really carried me in terms of being toe to toe with some really fantastic photographers in the beginning of my career.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think back, and if you're okay with me kind of saying,
of course.
I think back to in the very, very early days when I knew you, and you talked about earlier the whole imposter syndrome thing. And so you were probably focusing very much on yourself and am I doing this right? Am I doing a good job as a photographer?
Oh yeah.
Compared to, when I've worked with you more recently, and it's like, Tia is totally in charge. She's got no concern for, is she good enough? She's all about, is my client comfortable? And, what am I doing to make it the best experience for my client? And that switch, I often talk about in presentation skills, for example, it's all about the audience. It's all about the other person. The more you can take the focus off yourself and focus on other people, the better it's going to be.
It's so true. And just this year with the empowerment sessions that I've started, I make it all about the client and all about the person who's about to be in front of the camera. It's part of the celebration. It's part of why I want people who do work with me to not only get the photo, but just enjoy the process.
Tell us about this, because this is a relatively in the kind of the journey of your career. This is a relatively new service that you've started offering, right? So tell us about it, because It's quite fascinating.
Oh my goodness. So the beginning of this year, well, last year I had a lot of free time. I think a lot of us did.
Right.
And, I was thinking about ways I can really enrich a photo session, because a lot of people, a photo session is kind of a means to an end. I need to dress up and get in front of a camera so I can have this photo for my LinkedIn. And while that, I understand the purpose, it was something that I'd been wanting to manifest into this really big celebratory event for this client or for the person, because I had a client. I had a client and she came in, she wanted to feel beautiful. She hadn't been feeling beautiful in a while. The people in her family, she felt weren't valuing her as a wife, as a mother, as someone who was working, and she just really felt in a low space. And she's just like, Tia, can we just do a photo session? And she came, she had these beautiful clothes. We had the music on, and she brought some music, and we were just rocking and just having a good old time. And we're sharing stories and we're talking to each other. And at the end of the shoot, I haven't even showed her pictures yet. She's just like, I just really wanted to feel this again. I really wanted to feel beautiful. I really just wanted to have a good time. Pictures aren't even out of the camera yet. and that really made me feel like a person that that added value. That for someone to communicate before they even got the product yet, before they even paid for the product yet, that they really loved my service and loved this service, and that they felt served. I felt pretty proud about that, and I wanted to find ways to really add to that, because I want my clients to feel served. And so Corona, I really sat and I thought about ways I could, make the client feel served. And so I came up with, there are different words, or some people say glamour shot, some people say different portrait sessions, but I came up with empowerment session, because I feel like if I call it glamour, people are just going to think of the 1980s and they're not going to show up. So
I love the 80s.
I mean, I've only enjoyed 2 years of the 80s, so I can't really attest to the 80s. But
Yeah, I enjoyed the 80s to the full. I can say that.
So I wanted to find a way that I can bring in the fun of getting dressed up, bringing your best dress, or if you want a rental dress. I went out and found places where I could rent a dress that somebody would want to be in. Add the cancellations of all of the end of year galas and boning kais and things that you would dress formal for. We no longer could the previous year. And I said, you know what, let's just dust off the kimono, dust off the dress, and put it on, and let's do it. So the empowerment sessions, thank you again for advertising and sharing that with your viewers. It's ever since I got to photograph your two lovely Sasuga community members, I continued it throughout the year, and we've just gotten some amazing stories from people saying, wow, that's me, or wow, I can't believe that you did that. And I always tell people, no, it's a team effort. I'm not you. And really just getting that wow, that awe of oneself, and really turning it into a celebration of oneself. It started off as, a really high-end headshot or portrait session, and it became, something that women were buying portraits, physical portraits, for their home or for their husband or for themselves. And it really has become something that I want to continue, and I want to promote for other women who, you know, maybe they have a big win and they want to celebrate through a photo session with me, myself and Nobuo, the makeup artist, or maybe, just like the first client who kicked it all off, you know, they need a reminder of why they are who they are and why they should value themselves. So that's what I want to do. I want to really communicate this outlet of celebrating oneself.
I love it so much. So we will definitely be linking. I'm sure that we have Sasuga podcast listeners who are like, oh, I'm kind of interested in this. I might want to do this myself. So put a link in the show notes for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've had solo empowerment sessions. I've had a friend bring a girlfriend over and they do duo empowerment sessions.
Oh, that's so great. Oh,
those,
my goodness.
Those are the most fun because
I've got like there's little ideas going in my mind now.
I think one of the empowerment sessions we had champagne at one time, and that was just because we shot it here in my home studio. People tend to find the home studio more approachable and comfortable than like an actual commercial studio. And you know, the refrigerator is there, and I am a lover of wine. And there just happened to be a bottle in there.
Wow. Okay.
So that did happen.
The cogs are turning. Yeah. Oh. Liking this idea more and more. Okay.
I know. Yeah, get a coffee.
Yeah, a little drink as we continue. So I was going to go into maybe the spontaneous questions, but
yeah,
is that sound good for you?
I'm up for spontaneity.
You know, it's always interesting the different reactions that different guests have to the idea of spontaneous questions. So, and I love that, you know, that you're just like, yeah, bring it on.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
All right. Okay. Favorite food in Tokyo?
Oh, wow. These are the spontaneous questions. Okay. All right. Favorite food in Tokyo. Does it have to be a restaurant or a specific food?
Whatever comes to mind.
Whatever comes to mind. Well, I love kaiseki ryori. I was completely blown away. So full disclosure, I used to be an English teacher. And one of the amazing things, this would never happen in America. One of my students was a president of a company, and I was teaching him, just helping him with his presentation. And he did his presentation, presented it. And as a thank you, he takes me to this kaiseki ryori dinner. And of course, I don't know how much it costs. Wow. I just know it's delicious and amazing, and I'm hooked. And I didn't know the name kaiseki ryori at the time, but I found a place when we were in Ginza. There are kaiseki ryori places everywhere, and so I saw one and I thought, oh yeah, that looks like the food I had that one time. So of course I go in and I see the price and I walk right back out. But I've learned over the years you can eat kaiseki ryori for lunch at a significantly cheaper price. So I from time to time enjoy a lunch kaiseki ryori.
I love it. That's great. So English teaching, what was your funniest moment ever as an English teacher?
Okay, I have one. So I used to teach this. So okay, I'm American. I'm African American. For your listening viewers, and you are probably familiar with the man Martin Luther King Jr.
Right.
Martin Luther King Jr. is a significant historical figure of fighting for racial equality in the United States in the 60s. So Martin Luther King Jr. Day is January 13th or 18th. His birthday and the day are right next to each other, and I never know which one is. This is very disappointing to other American listeners who are listening right now. but it's typically on a Monday, and this particular Monday has come, and I'm teaching this Japanese man. He had to be in his 70s, And I come in and I greet him. I say, hi, how are you? How's it going? And he says, I'm so sorry for your loss. And I tried so hard not to laugh. He was being really genuine, like his face, he was really conveying real condolences.
Oh.
I felt touched, but I felt very tickled. Oh man.
So sweet.
I also have numerous hilarious stories of my own Japan faux pas.
Oh, tell.
Oh my gosh. Okay, this is a cute one.
Right.
So I was learning Japanese with a private tutor.
Uh-huh.
And we had recently learned the grammar point, nani so. So like atsuso or samuso.
Right.
And I was in the foyer or in the lobby, and this mother comes in with her baby. So I walked right up to that baby and I said, oh, kawaii so. And of course my boss is there. And my boss didn't say anything. My boss just kind of shoos the client away. And my senpai says, do you know what you just said? I said, yeah, I said she looks cute. And she said, kawaii so means poor you.
Oh my goodness, I am literally wiping tears.
This story so many times, it never gets old.
I've never heard that story in all the years I've known you. I never heard that one. Oh my goodness.
This is like on, the expat social spaces where the question comes up from time to time, like, oh, what's your most embarrassing Japan story?
Oh my goodness, I've never heard that one. That is hilarious. I think just now we had the longest moment of laughter on the Sasuga podcast ever. I hope the listeners are enjoying the laughs and laughing along with us.
Oh my goodness. I mean, that one tops the cake of just me putting my non-native Japanese foot in my mouth.
I love that so much. All right, so I'm going to change the mood now. After a little bit of clarity, I'm going to change with the last of the spontaneous questions, because this is my favorite ones. We get some great, not to put any pressure on your
no.
some great
I'm gonna sober up.
So what advice would you give to yourself 10 years ago? Around about 10 years, it doesn't have to be exact. What advice would you give to Tia 10 years ago?
That's a good question. I would say to 23-year-old me, really learn how to set boundaries for yourself. Setting boundaries is one of the strongest pillars of self-care. Because when you don't set boundaries and when you try to people please and try to accommodate for everyone and everything, you break down mentally and physically. And setting those boundaries doesn't make you an evil person or an impersonable person. It makes you a person who knows your limits and honors them.
Yep.
So I would tell 23-year-old me that.
Brilliant. I love that so much. So powerful. So with that, as we start to wrap up this hilarious and insightful episode, what else would you like to share with our listeners and viewers today?
Really, I know I listened to many of your podcasts, and I know a lot of them have talked about the phase one self-care, and I have to put my vote in the hat or vote in the box for self-care. You cannot create a plan, you cannot communicate your ideas, you cannot complete your tasks without really tending to your needs, really listening to your body, really listening to what your needs are and learning what your needs are. Because for the longest time, I didn't know what my needs were. I knew the basics of being respectful and getting respect, but it goes a lot deeper than just basic, when you say basic, being a basic human being and interacting with people who should understand the basic rules of respect. But really learning what your needs are, learning what your love language is, not just with your partner, but also to yourself. And I really think that learning your own personal love language to how you communicate with yourself adds to your self-value, adds to your self-care, adds to your motivation, and really lets you look at life in a more positive manner with a positive lens and attracts positive outcomes to you. Because if you don't know how to communicate with yourself, that builds yourself up and your value up, it's going to be a long and painful journey.
Wonderful. I'm going to just give myself a hug because, you know, that's my love language.
There you go. I love it. I try not to tell myself that my love language is eating shiopon, because I do love shiopon. Do not confuse love language with emotional eating.
Well, it's celebratory eating.
I do that. I only eat shiopon if I did something very good and had a nice little win.
Brilliant. So tell us, what have you got coming up? What might be interesting for our listeners and viewers? You've told us about the women's empowerment sessions. Anything else that we want to know about?
So all year round, I am doing the women's empowerment sessions. I'm putting together a campaign that's a 40 over 40 campaign. That's basically celebrating women who are 40 or women who are over 40. This is to combat things that self-deprecating narratives that I hear with people saying that, oh, I'm too this, oh, I'm too that, oh, I'm too. There's so many women who I've told the empowerment sessions to. They're really excited, and the first thing they say is, I'll wait till after I lose 10 pounds. And then I tell them, no, you have to do it now when you're supposed to celebrate your current self. Trying to put off a future celebration or putting off your celebrating yourself in the future, it does your current self a disservice. So that's something that I'm putting together for next year. But for this season,
wait. When you say 40 over 40, so is this your aim is to so the over 40?
My aim is to get 40 women over 40. So it's a campaign that's limited by number, not limited by time. And the goal is just 40 fabulous women over 40.
All right. Are you listening, Sassika podcast listeners? Let's do this. Let's make this happen. All right. Sign me up. I'm over 40.
There we go. I do not qualify for my own campaign, but that's okay. The idea is to celebrate the women who I feel really most resonate with, or I feel really are the ones that don't celebrate themselves enough, are women who are mid-career, and that tends to be women over 40. So that is my purpose and my aim. Wow. I also have our autumn family. This is a biannual family session. So I only do family sessions twice a year. The first one is in the spring with cherry blossoms. And then the second one is in the autumn, which is coming up. Koyo season, Shichigo-san season. This is where we kind of get the family together. So oftentimes I'll do headshots for somebody. And then one of these 2 moments of the year, oh yeah, I really want to bring my family into the Top Tia experience. And this is our 5th one this year.
Wow.
So yes, it's the 5th one. I love it every year because I'm such a big kid. And I just get to goof and make people laugh. And it's really fun for me.
Well, the time that you did a family photo shoot for us.
Oh, yeah.
It was around Christmas. It's my parents were over. In fact, it was a Christmas present to my parents.
Oh.
So there were my parents, my husband, daughter, there's 5 of us, and you did this whole bunch of photos, and we put them into a little album, and it still sits on top of one of the cupboards in my parents' living room.
Oh.
They absolutely treasure that photo album.
Oh my goodness, that just really warms my heart, because I used to not do prints.
Right.
Like everything was digital.
Yeah.
And I've heard so many stories, because this was this year or last year. This year, I incorporated prints, and so many people are saying, "Oh my goodness, I have this photo finally of our family I gave to my mom," or "Oh my goodness, I have something that is such quality that I want to pass it down to my children."
Mhm.
And just the stories, I had no idea how sentimental physical prints were, and I'm so glad that I introduced them this year.
Brilliant. Love it. Okay, well, thank you so much, Tia. We'll be putting the details. So we've got the empowerment session, we've got the 40 over 40, we've got the family. Probably we'll put a link so that people can find all of that easily. That's so great, so wonderful. I'm looking forward to seeing the results. Let me know when you get when the listeners are signing up. I want to know about it. I want to see the photos.
Absolutely. This is the time to just get out of your comfort zone. And the space that I provide is definitely a place where you can experiment and just dip your toe a little bit outside of your comfort zone.
Right. Okay. Well, I think it's about time for me to have another session. I think we want to.
Let's do it.
Pop the champagne in the fridge. All right. Brilliant. So wonderful talking with you today, Tia.
Likewise.
Thank you so much. I'm sure that our listeners and viewers are going to enjoy this so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Make it a brilliant and joyful day.
Take care.